Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're listening from. Welcome to yet another one of Chiromo Hospital Group's live discussions that we have. And we are today live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we look forward to an amazing and indulgent conversation about fatherhood. Now, for those who don't know, this month is Men's Health Month, and we're taking advantage of this to also appreciate men's mental health. Interestingly enough, this coming Sunday is Father's Day. And in preparation of Father's Day, we saw it best to have a conversation that revolves around fathers, fatherhood, and their mental health. And with me today, I am really glad to introduce an amazing panel that is coming in with great insights, wearing great hats. We have mental health advocates, we have mental health practitioners, fathers, father figures, and we're here to celebrate you all today. We still have someone who will be joining us later on, and we will welcome him and introduce him. But before that, I would like to introduce the panel that is right here with me. So let me start with you, Mohammed. Let me give you a chance to say hi to our audience. Tell us about how you're doing. Tell us about what you are doing. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pendo. Greetings to Dr. Ian. I am very honored to be here. It's a pleasure. First, my, the people who are in my age group or in my age preference, I tell them the best hood to be in is fun. So I'm really happy to be in this position. Also speak about and also like infusing it with mental health, which is a big conversation right now. So really excited for this.
Right. The best hood to be in is fatherhood. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Let me also introduce Ian. Ian is a hospital psychologist, but let me give you a chance to tell us more about what you do, how you're doing. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Pendo. Good morning, everyone. I'm doing well. Um, I'm a hospital psychologist here at Chiromo Hospital Group, and also I am a father figure.
Thank you so much, Ian, for coming in, and you're bringing in such an important perspective to this conversation. Finally, I'd like to introduce Kyle. Kyle, welcome to this session. Thank you for joining us. And I'd like to give you a chance to say hi to our audience, tell us what you do and how you're doing today. Over to you, Kyle.
Okay, thank you, Pendo. Hi, everyone. My name is Kai Kyoko. I'm a psychologist here at CBT Kenya, and I'm glad to be part of this lively discussion on fatherhood. Yeah, thanks to Chirom as well. I cannot say I'm a father figure yet, but yeah, I'm leaning towards that trajectory. But thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kyle, for being here. And as I said, this conversation is going to include men that are wearing different hats, from mental health advocates, mental health practitioners, fathers, and father figures. And we're here to appreciate you all. I am actually really honored to be in the midst of men who are doing a lot of work when it comes to the mental health field. And I'm really looking forward to your insights. For those who are just joining us for the first time, we have these conversations as part of the Tufunguke initiative, which works to create awareness on matters mental health. Tufunguke is Swahili for let us open up. So we're here to have very candid and open conversations about matters mental health. Well, without further ado, I'd like to go straight into the conversation. And I'd like to direct this first question to Mohammed and perhaps Ian later on. And it's looking at the mental health experience of our fathers. I will start by saying that so far, looking at cultural influences, looking at how men and fathers are viewed in the society, I don't know how much their mental health is put into consideration, and we want to shed a light into that particular aspect. Let me start with you, Mohammed. What are some of the common mental health issues that fathers face. Let me start with that.
Thank you so much. I think there's so many issues that fathers face. Mental. Probably once they become a father, they assume so many responsibilities, so many uh, so many responsibilities, and you have people to take care of. But unfortunately, people look up to you, and you never get that support because everyone comes to you for support. So with that pressure, you're overlooked as a human. So when everyone comes to you for help, it's very rare for them to think that you need help. So that's one of the issues that they face. I guess also economically, now there's also responsibility financially, where they need to make more money to support the family. So even if they have a spouse,
Sorry, Mohammed, you seem to have frozen. As we wait for Mohammed to come back, let me extend the same question to you, Ian. As a father figure, what would you say are some of the common mental health challenges that fathers face? Over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Pendo. Um, I started playing the role of a father figure at a very young age, around 18, and it came with a lot of anxiety, not being sure how I'm going to handle it, whether I'm going to do the right thing or not. Also, it comes with chronic stress, which eventually leads to depression. It's the first time and you're supposed to be present emotionally, um, taking taking the hits just to shield the people who are under my care. So mostly anxiety and depression are the most common issues. Also, apart from being a father figure, also these two are the most common issues we get in practice as well for those fathers who come in to seek help.
To be a connectivity challenge. I don't know if it's just from my end, everyone else can experience it. But from what I got, you mentioned that anxiety that comes from having to take up these new roles, and depression are some of the most common challenges, mental health wise, that fathers would face. I'd like to say that as we carry on in this conversation, yes, fathers will come up a lot, but I also include those who had to take up a father role because of different circumstances. And we also appreciate and acknowledge you in this conversation. So thank you, Ian, for bringing in that perspective. From your experience, perhaps, even as you wait for Mohammed to come in, these mental health issues that come up with the role of a father, how would you say it has impacted the way parenting happens, the family dynamics? Perhaps you could shed some insight on that. Over to you, Ian.
How these mental health challenges impact parenting and the family dynamics. So first, sometimes it can be possible for someone to be avoidant, which now will cause someone to be a neglective parent. And this is going to spill over, of course, to the family. Yeah. On the other side, it can give someone a sense of purpose, wanting to give it the best and being a present father figure. So it can go both ways, depending
Okay.
on how this individual is handling it and also depending on the kind of support system they have. So it can have a positive impact on the family dynamic and parenting, and also it can have a negative impact.
Okay, okay. I like that perspective. Sounds more like a double-edged sword where there can be negativity that would come from it, but there's also potential for positivity out of this experience. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Well, I think that's the nature of some of these online sessions. Tech issues come up once in a while, but we're glad to have you back. Well, I would like to still redirect the same question back to you in terms of some of the common mental health issues. Ian has given us his perspective. We'd like to also invite yours. What are some of the common mental health issues that men, or rather fathers, would face?
I guess there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it, because you have someone you have to provide to protect to, and a lot of sacrifice that you sacrifice your mental health, for the sake of others. Um, a crippling depression sometimes because now you don't have an avenue to express yourself. You feel like other people are more important than you. So there's a lot of anxiety, and especially if people already have underlying mental health issues. For instance, if they have bipolar, if they have ADHD, it doesn't mean like fatherhood is gonna make it um, more easier. Although they do have to navigate fatherhood a bit differently because of this mental.
I like that you mentioned that they have to navigate this differently. I can already hear your little one is around you somewhere there, and we're sending a shout out to them as we're having this conversation. And I would like to, come back to you in terms of this mental health challenges that would come up as a perhaps as related to fatherhood. How do they impact your parenting style? How do they impact the family dynamics based off your experience?
I guess for me, with the underlying issues I may have, I have a lot of pressure at work, so probably uh, fatherhood. When you see now, you tend to work harder. You tend to work harder. You tend to prioritize others instead of yourself. So even if you don't get diagnosed for some of these mental health issues, you do kind of get the symptoms of something like ADHD, anxiety disorders, bipolar, because you kind of have to switch identities. So it kind of makes it harder, because you have to you have to kind of give more from and you know what they say, you can't give from an empty well. So the damage that does to you is you become you deregularize your emotions, so you don't take care of yourself. And when you take care of others more, evidently you break down in the long run. So if you don't take care of yourself in terms of eating well, sleeping well, thinking well, therapy, just it's really going to make even fatherhood difficult. Your children won't like you. They'll always think daddy is an angry person, daddy doesn't love me. But in true effect, it's not even that. It's just that he doesn't know how to navigate these emotions, doesn't know how to ask for help. So that's how I.
Okay, okay. I like that. I'd like to take this moment and maybe just throw the two of you under the bus, just briefly before I head on over to Kyle. And this is because, Kyle, I'd like to engage you in terms of you're coming in from a psychologist's perspective. We're hearing the different challenges that fathers face, and I'd like to indulge you in terms of how would someone who's considering being a father is expecting or is a new father, and how they would cope with some of these challenges. But before that, I want to indulge Muhammad and Ian with a brief question, and maybe we can just do like a yes or no, very brief response. Have you found yourself admitting that you're not doing well and would need help as a father. Let me hear from you, Ian.
It was quite difficult to do that, as a man.
Ah,
Yeah, but yeah, I did gain the strength to ask for help. But
okay.
it's not weak. It's not like a, a lack when you ask for. Yes,
Mhm.
I at times I did ask for help, and it's not even that complicated. From your elders or from God, So the first step is actually realizing that maybe I could be better.
Uh-huh. Thank you so much for that. You said it was not easy being a man and also as being a father. Let me hear from your case, Ian. Have you ever found yourself, admitting that you need help and communicating that openly?
Oh, yes, I have. I've admitted to needing help. Of course, it's not easy. It doesn't come with a manual. So at some point, yes, I've admitted to needing help and I was able to get the help I needed.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I know it's a personal experience, and when it comes to men and how society has said that you're supposed to interact with the world, there are certain difficulties. But I am glad to hear that both of you have been able to come out and say that you actually need help. And at this point, I'd like to now come back to you, Kyle, in terms of these experiences that have been shared here. From your professional opinion, what are some of the ways that a new dad, an anticipating dad, someone who's already in fatherhood, as Ian said, there's no manual, and they're struggling with these challenges, how can they cope with, these challenges that seem specific to fathers?
Okay. First of all, thank you. Before I start just explaining in general, I'd like to mention that every experience is subjective because everyone is different. And when we come to that, we find with new fathers, men are viewed as the rock of the house, of the family. And with that, we let's take for example someone who wants to view themselves as someone who's stable, someone who can handle responsibility, these new roles, this new human being that comes into picture. One person will come and say, okay, you know what, I got this. Maybe with financial reasons here and there from family, from friends, I can manage. But anything that is deep within me, anything that requires any emotional overwhelming, you know, ah, that's something I can brush off. You know, that's something that is okay. That's something that is easy. But as it continues by, the stress has becomes intense because the kid is growing up. Necessities are needed. Now you're coming from the fact that now the mother is maybe on maternity, for example, or is on rest. Now you are assuming roles and tasks which you have to share so you can also help the mother. But you find it's becoming overwhelming when this one person wants to do this all by himself. Now, you find this is the negative coping mechanisms. One will lead to alcoholism. You have done the kid has gone to sleep. Okay. Now let me go outside, watch a few games and have a couple of beers. A couple of beers continues that trajectory on and on and on. Now that is substance abuse or beauty to the picture. This is a new dynamic that is it's now in interacting with the family relationship, the tasks ahead, and the upbringing of the child. You find that these coping mechanisms, as it continues, develops into negative behavior, or yeah, negative behavior and also that upbringing of the child. But there's a thing with that. There's ways which we can interact differently. How? Just support, accepting that this is beyond my level of how can I put it? My level of withholding it and seeking help. Seeking help that doesn't mean therapy alone. Is there someone close to you who you can interact with, who you can talk about, and you are more comfortable and trusting with your own experience? Let me be honest with our, we have to be subjective to everyone's experiences. One can come from a family where it's nuclear. Someone can come in a family where it is single parenthood, and when they are growing up, they don't have that father figure where they can have that model. And who else comes to the picture? Are there uncles nearby? Are there any father figure when you're growing up? You are able to mimic these values of becoming a father. That's the first person you can reach out to. Or even friends who you know they are going into the same pathway as you, just reaching out. That's the always the first step. Always reaching out. And again, I can just continue before we continue with this conversation.
Yeah.
With another means of coping, anxiety, that is reaction to stress. How can we control, how can we regulate our emotions? Let's say, for example, that this has become overwhelming. Before I reach out and go to these negative coping mechanisms, how can I regulate my own self first? Because we're the only one who is in control, no one else, it's just us. So how can we start that? We have these relaxation techniques and guidebook that we learn through therapy. And now that's where therapy is involved. Breathing exercises, relaxation techniques, regulating one's emotions. So you can also be there for the child. I mean that because that doesn't mean this person is not going to work. There is stress from work as well. There is also stress from the environment. And now you're coming home, there's another whole other thing that's happening. So how can we catch that before it becomes overwhelming for us? So we be mindful of our own space, breathe out, breathe in, relax. Okay, what can I handle first? Prioritize the tasks, and then we can move on from there. I hope I haven't taken much time in explaining, but yeah, that's what I can say.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for contextualizing it. I like that you said that it's subjective, person to person experience. All of us here, or rather, let me say, all of you have had even different experiences, and we have to put that into consideration. Two things as well. I appreciate that you've said that there's a bit that we can, there's a role that we also have in terms of our own wellness in this conversation. Let me start with, I'd like to start with you, Mohammed. First of all, you've already shared perhaps the challenges that have come up as a result of being in that fatherhood. And one of the things that Kyle brought up is this techniques that we do sometimes, relaxation, mindfulness, coping, help you to get through the day to day. And I would like to perhaps ask, based of your experience, what are some of the things that have helped you to maintain wellness as a father?
Thank you so much, and thank you, Dr. Kai, for also recreational habits. Indeed, you do need some mental clarity. You do need some personal time. You do need some sort of escape where you can meet with yourself. So for me personally, um, I do I listen to a lot of music and also create. So it depends on the hobby you have or your. For me, I'm a creative and I like creating, so I spend a lot of time just singing, writing music, poetry, listening to a lot of music, learning music. So that, and also exercise. Physical exercise is very important. Yoga. I think I have a timetable where I have a day for yoga. So I wake up in the morning and I just do some stretches. It's not that serious. Sometimes I'll be doing the most, but it's just being active. And yeah, I think I've found a lot of benefits in journaling. When you write down your thoughts and ideas, they tend to just grow into bigger than just.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. You mentioned you engage in some physical activity and mindfulness in the form of yoga, and there's also journaling that helps with the processing, expressing of emotions. Yeah, and let me hear from your side as well. What are some of the things that have helped you to maintain wellness as a father? figure?
First, being very intentional with the self-care. As we usually say, you can't pour from an empty cup. And fatherhood basically is you're pouring, to maybe your children or the siblings you're taking care of. So, having a proper self-care routine, taking walks, making sure that I get some sunlight, listening to music, reading books. Um, Another aspect that has really helped is working on my spirituality. Um, Therapy has also worked very, very well, making sure that I address whatever issues I'm having going on so that I don't project to the people I'm taking care of. Um, and another important thing is having mentors, having people who are in the fatherhood space, people who have kids, people who have taken care of other people before, just to compare notes and see what I need to do better and what I'm not doing better.
Thank you so much. And some might wonder why we're asking this particular question. And I really like this particular question for this reason, that we get to hear the different things that people can do to help them cope. And as said, it's subjective. We all have different preferences and would gravitate towards certain activities. And we're hearing mindfulness, we're hearing journaling, we're hearing therapy, turning to our social capital. And what I'm trying to say is that, and perhaps this would be my message to men, I think, through this month, and fathers as I continue appreciating them, that self care is not selfish, one. And these self care activities, I don't know about you, but I don't think they're taking away from your gangster points. It's okay to indulge in self care if it helps you to cope and feel better. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Uh-huh. Yeah, self-care is important, and regardless of your gender, there's always room to take care of yourself. And these different activities, they have benefits, and we can always benefit from them. I would like to come back to you, Kyle, and this is around fathers, their mental health, and the impact it has on their children. What's your take on what impact a father's or a father figure's mental health has on their children? Over to you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we always, as psychologists, we always come back to, let's say when we are getting history from clients and all that. There's usually this one aspect in family history. We usually try to assess that has there been any mental history with the patient, with the client? Has there been any signs of mental history? Now, that is very, very significant in just having any predisposition of any illness. I'm not talking about ADHD or this diagnosis of developmental disorders, rather psychosocial issues. Let's say, let me pick emotional regulation. When we find, let's say, a father is quick to temperament outbursts, the kid is also there observing, you know. Now, in emotional development, um, there is an involvement in awareness of their feelings. Are they overreacting? The defense mechanisms that they are usually in place. It starts through childhood and through the environment of the child. So, who's the first interaction of the child? It's the parents. And if we are not if we are not aware of what's going on with us, it is very, very, very easy, subconsciously even as well, to share this behaviors to the kid because the kid is observing, is mimicking. So when you find that even is going to school interacting with other now another social aspect with school and other kids, they have brought up with some of these elements that they have observed from the father, from the mother. It's always in general, but yeah, specifically from the father. If it's any maybe how can I, these sensitive words or maybe the wordings and how they communicate, communication styles, relationship styles as well. Are they secure to attachment or insecure? Are they in the that now comes to the involvement of the father in the upbringing, you know? It creates a new other element. I can talk to my generation, for example.
Yeah.
In social media, there's always this saying of I have daddy issues.
Mm.
They can we can have a lot of, it can go to an all extent to maybe this is just something they're doing for clout, but coming into the realness of it, there is some seriousness to these daddy issues. What do you mean by that? You know, um, how's the involvement? How's the relationship with the dad? These are one of the roles that the father now comes in, how the kids view relationships when they grow up. How are they attached to relationships? Is it healthy mechanisms? Is it unhealthy? Also with their personality as well. And were they, as they were growing up, were they encouraged in self-expression? In as much as there is a behavior that a father is noticing to the kid, how are they correcting it? Is it positively, or are they using the stick? You know, it creates another whole discussion. And yeah, and also stress management. How one should react to stress also involves that. So it creates a variety of elements and dynamics that come to place. That's why
Mm.
we go back to the first thing: awareness, emotional
Awareness.
regulation, self-care, and self-care in how Ian as well as Muhammad have described self-care. Because before you do harm, you have to take care of yourself first. You have to be okay for others around you to be okay. And when you're not okay, that's okay. You can still do something. You can still do something to make yourself be okay. I know I've used a lot of okays, but I hope you get the picture of that. But yeah.
Certainly, certainly. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And the more you describe the, it's, very many possibilities on how a father's mental health can have an impact on their child. The more you talk about that, the more you realize the kind of load, the kind of weight that fathers and father figures actually carry. When you're starting this conversation, someone said people view fathers as a pillar, and it just dawned on me, yeah, I also do the same thing. I expect, my father to be a certain way, and sometimes we forget that they're human beings as well. And all of these challenges are coming up. Let me contextualize it further to day experiences. Mohammed, let me hear from you first, and then I'll go to Ian. In your experience, how has your mental health, your mental wellness, the space that you're in, how has it impacted on your child or children? Yeah, over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Uh, Maybe I'd like to mention that mental health is a continuous journey. It's like the economic cycle. There's a time where
Mm,
you're depressed, the time where you're blooming, So, on the various points of my mental health journey, of course, the times where I was poor in my management of mental health, and I guess in that situation or at that time, I really didn't see the effect or the impact of not taking care of myself having on my children. So at that time, see how children learn really fast. Children learn very fast, so they notice you, and they're observers. So they see that daddy um, is not okay, and they don't try add burden to you. So there's a way where there's separation, and they start making boundaries, and they're doing it out of love, like like, maybe daddy is not okay, and they can see that. Although I had to kind of face those challenges and start being active in my management and solving my mental health issues. And at that point is when I realized how much I was losing. Sometimes you feel like my children are losing me, my children, but also you in life. You're losing so much time. You're losing so many opportunities to.
Oh no. Mohammed unfortunately dropped off, but I was liking the line that his insights are taking, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more. Before he comes back, let me indulge Ian on the same question. As a father figure, what impact has your mental health had on those that you're looking after?
Um, at the beginning, before I figured out everything, there was a lot of self-neglect, and with time, I realized that it was spilling over to the people I've been taking care of, which at that time they were still very, very young. And I could pick, there was a lot of reflection, what was happening was also presenting with them. But as I became more aware, also it had an equal effect to them, you know. Their mental wellness started getting better, they started becoming more aware, they started learning how to express themselves, express their emotions, talk about what's bothering them. So it's been getting better and better. And now looking back to where we came from and how things are right now, if the self neglect continued, then I think the whole of my household will be dealing with something very deep in therapy. Their mental health will be in a very bad place. So it
Wow.
feels so bad.
It
Yeah.
spills over, and I like that we actually, I'd like to leave it at it spills over, and it can be either when your mental health is not doing well, and on the other side, when you're doing well, when your wellness is your priority, this also can spill over to the people around you. And when you said that, when you started looking after your mental health, you could also see it in in the people that you're looking after, that their mental health was also doing better. I really like hearing that. Thank you for that, Ian. Hi, Mohammed. You're back.
Yes. Wow.
This connectivity doesn't want us to thrive, but will still fight it the conversation. Um, we lost you when you're talking about how children would even sometimes see that you're not doing well, and they start, taking a step back. And as a father, you also stand to be at a loss in such a situation. Let me give you a chance to carry on with
Thank you.
your point.
So as I was saying, once you ignore or neglect your mental health, definitely it spills over to your children, it spills over to the people around you, your spouse, your partner. Now you become, unfortunately, the child. It's really sad when your child looks at you like, mommy, daddy needs time and help. So it's very important or very needed you to take responsibility and accountability and work. Get help, work on your mental health, and once you do that, you'll start seeing the benefits. Because the children, like I told you, they have a photographic memory, so they do see the changes that happen in you. And once you start now choosing improving your life, they also appreciate. And even though I said you do realize that there's no beautiful feeling like opportunity to steal again that lost time. So once you start with mental health, everything else now starts becoming better. You become a better father, you become a better employee, you become a better person in the society, and you start reversing those uh, effects, the negative effects of not taking care of yourself.
Okay, thank you so much for that and for this powerful insight. It's, what you're saying complements what Ian said, that again it spills over, so there's responsibility to look after that. I'd like to for a moment engage our audience. We have someone from our audience who just commented, and Lucy Onjohi, watching us from Facebook, is saying impactful and necessary conversation. Thank you so much, Lucy, for engaging us. For anyone who's listening, if you have a question, if you have a comment, please feel free to type it down in the comment section and we'll make sure to address it. So as I come back to the conversation, and I'd like to engage you, Kyle, in this. One of the things that have come up strongly from both Mohammed's and Ian's insights is that your mental health has an impact on those that we're looking after. In that case, then, what are some of the effective strategies that are there to help fathers cope with stresses, deal with their mental health, maintain wellness? What are some of these coping mechanisms, resources, strategies that are available for fathers? Over to you, Kyle.
Okay, thank you. First of all, let's use what is there available to us, and what is available to us is the people who are around us and love us. Let's use that. That's social support. When you know you are something is overwhelming and you have many tasks and you cannot be able to achieve them on time, prioritize the ones that you are to do, and in support of just even the upbringing of the kid, use your family members. That's the support that I'm talking about. There is Mohammed and Ian talked about self-care. They mentioned the brief moment of self-neglect that was there before. Engage in hobbies, and remember, there's a lot of stuff you can do. There's golfing, there's walking, there's listening to music. We're not saying you do them all. We're saying just start off with what works. Develop a toolkit for yourself. So when you know, there's this challenge that's here, I know what I'm going to use. When there's a tire that has, you want to change a tire, you know you're going to use a spanner. So develop that so it becomes consistent. If gym works for you, it starts small, then make it a habit. Again, with music, walking, we identify these things that distress us so we can have better wellness as we continue that. And there is, of course, therapy. When there is always this saying in the medical field, when symptom persists, seek medical advice. It's same with mental
Right.
health. Same with mental health. If it becomes overwhelming, there is no stigma in reaching out for help. Reach out for help. There is available resources in online counseling. There is physical counseling. Our centers that are available to us in just seeking that support and guidance. There is also support groups which are available. Some centers have I think it's Fatherhood, which is the father support group, where they can have other members who are experiencing the same situation and connect with that. They share the experiences. They share also what works for them. If for example I was going through something and I'm a new father, you're a new father, the one who has experience will share, okay, this is where I had a challenge and I've been able to work with. So it even gives that person who goes to the support group the hope that it becomes better over time. There is support groups, you know, and again with self-care, I'll go back to self-care because that's one thing we can control and we continue. With self-care, we also have to mention your diet, what you eat, you know. You can view yourself with, if you care for yourself, if you want to be well, what am I eating? You know, if you want to be there for the child, how am I eating? We know very well how nutrition is a very significant impact in our physical wellness and also mental wellness. So this binge eating that can develop as a coping mechanism how can we develop healthy eating habits for us to complement all this in general. So that's what I can say.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kyle, for that. That there's, a lot of options when it comes to self-care. I think one of the greatest misconceptions that people have is that self-care is like a single activity. And a lot of times it goes around, oh, I'm going to buy myself something. That's a lot of times, self care is viewed as that, but we actually have like I think 8 dimensions to it. Your physical, are you working out? Are you sleeping well? Your emotional, are you aware of your emotions and the expression of them? Cognitive, are you advancing your cognitive capacity, reading books, watching intriguing movies, shows, and things like that? Your environmental, the space around you, and how it is. Your social, the people around you and how they are. Your spiritual, not religious but spiritual, and that is around what grounds you, what is something that gives you purpose, um, your identity, and all of that. Have I left one out? I think I've captured financial. Financial, yes. And the finances are like one of the top stressors up there. So financial wellness as well. And there's room to work on all of these forms of self-care. As we almost coming towards the end of the session, I want to listen to some of the comments that are coming in, and then I can direct the concluding questions to my panel. So I'm seeing really good interaction. We have, let me start with Shadrach Mudiani, who's watching from LinkedIn and is saying, awesome discussion. Thank you so much, Shadrach, for engaging us. We also have Joyce Mavisi from LinkedIn, and she's saying this is a great forum. Good work and keep it up. So good work, team, for what you're doing. And someone here seems to have a personal fan here. Someone is saying, Kyle, strong flexing hand. So over to you, Kyle. Someone is appreciating what you're doing here. And I'd like to come back to the final question in this conversation, and I'd like to direct it to both Ian and Mohammed. And in conclusion, what advice would you like to give to fathers? And I want to broaden it up a bit to fathers, to expecting fathers, to father figures who are struggling with their mental health experience with regards to fatherhood, who are struggling with communicating this. What advice would you give to someone who's listening to this conversation and falls under that category? Let me start with you, Ian, and then I'll go to Mohammed. Over to you, Ian.
Um, First of all, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to experience the anxiety that comes with fatherhood. It's a transition, and there's no transition that is smooth. All transitions come with anxiety. Um, if you feel like you are affected mentally, it's very, very important to seek help. Speaking up or seeking help doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a weak father. Like I said earlier, fatherhood doesn't come with a manual. So we need to talk to people, have a good social capital, engage with other people who have been in the same space before, engage with other people who are on the same level, people who are aspiring or are expecting to be fathers. This will make you feel like you're not alone, and this will validate how you feel. Also, it's very important to take care of yourself. It comes with a lot of stress, trying to give it your best. So make sure you fill your cup. Like it's expected, as a father, you're supposed to be a pillar. You have a lot of people looking up to you. So you can only achieve that if you take proper care of yourself. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ian, for that. Let me also give you, Mohammed, a chance to, speak to your audience. What advice would you like to give to a father, expecting father, father figure who is struggling with a mental health experience as a father or struggling with communicating their mental health struggles. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Dr. Pendo. Thank you, Dr. Ian. Thank you, Dr. Kyle. I feel like many much has been said, and just to add on seeking help and finding strength in doing so. I think as a man, not even as a father, but as a man, we already have those difficulties in going out there and looking for help. It's almost a taboo if a man asks for help. That is slowly changing, and we've seen the benefits of that. Another thing is to understand your role, and not just understand it, know that it's almost a godly appointment. When you become a father, or when you are a father, or when you were a father, it was God who gave you that opportunity and that role. So it's you're a creator. You're sensitively saying that you're also God. You're in His image. So you understand your role. You should understand your role, know that it's a blessing, and also incorporate your children into your toolkit, your routine, your daily activities, your recovery channel, your developing the self, journey. So incorporate your children in it. If it's swimming, go swimming with them. Spend time with them while you're healing yourself. And lastly, emphasize more. Fill your cup. Like fill your cup with lovely things so that if they spill over to your children, at least they're good and lovely, sweet things.
Wow. Wow. Good and lovely sweet things. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for that. Fill your cup. To those who are listening, fathers, father figures, fill your cup. Well, Kyle, I'd like to especially give you a chance to send a message to fathers, father figures out here. I know you're a psychologist, but I'd like to indulge the human being side of you, leave alone the professional side of you, to send a message to fathers, aspiring fathers, father figures, when it comes to fatherhood. Over to you, Kyle.
Okay, thanks. Just to say we got this. We got this. There's nothing else. Yeah, we got this. Let's take it day by day. You know, what comes
Okay.
later will come later. Yeah.
A day at a time, and you got this. Thank you so much for that. Personally, I think what I would like to say is, and I hope that this gives more relief than pressure, but you are our pillars. And fathers, you guide us through a lot, and father figures guide us through a lot, shield us from a lot, and even give us direction. You know, that bearing when you know you're walking through unsteady or murky waters, and you just know that I know there's grounding somewhere, in someone, and that reassurance plays such a huge role. So from me, um, as a woman, as a human being, as a psychologist, I would like to extend a lot of strength and grace to our fathers and those who have had to take up that role and proudly taken that role. We appreciate all of you. From the Chiromo team, perhaps I'd like to take this chance to extend an early happy Father's Day to all the fathers and father figures and aspiring fathers, expecting fathers. We appreciate all of you. And this is coming from the entire Chiromo team to you. Something that has also come up in this conversation are the different struggles that men go through when it comes to help seeking behavior, stigma, and their mental health experience. And I am glad to actually mention that based of your interaction, that is our audience, and based on what feedback you give us, we have put together a conversation next week for our Mindful Mondays chit chat. And that conversation is titled Beyond Be a Man. And we're putting be a man in quotes because there are a lot of these pressures to be a man and ignore and maybe sweep under the rug the different challenges that you go through. Next Monday, we will be having a conversation on Beyond Be a Man. We want to talk about these raw experiences and how they affect you and how to support you. So we look forward to your interaction. We look forward to hearing your experiences and learning from them. Our dear viewers, we're coming to the end of this conversation today. I would like to send a special thank you to all the panelists here. Kyle, Mohammed, Ian, I really appreciate your insights. I am truly honored to have been here, to have had your experiences, and to have shared this to anyone listening to this. I would also like to appreciate everyone who has engaged us. Please feel free to share this link to anyone who you feel like would benefit from this conversation. It's that one share. You have no idea what impact it will make. So feel free to distribute this to as many as possible. Let us work together to create mental health awareness. Tufunguke. Finally, I would like to highlight this. We have a toll-free line, 0800 220 000. This line is on 24/7, manned by a psychologist, and this line is there to provide support in crisis. You are never alone. So if you're going through an experience and you feel like you would need support, please save this number and feel free to engage us, and someone will be there to give you support. All in all, we're told to fill our cups, so let us remember that your mental health comes first. So thank you, everyone, and this is the end of today's conversation. Till the next one. Tufunguke.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.